Hello again, and welcome to another edition of Media Watch. I'm your co-host, Eric Tait.
And I'm Raymond Peterson.
Brought to you by the good graces of Manhattan Neighborhood Network and EVT Educational Productions. And we're pre-taping the Thursday before our Monday air date. So we'll try to put some perspectives on stuff that's in the news or should be in the news. Okay?
Subject to change in the next hour.
So Raymond, should we start with being black in America?
Sure, why not?
The reason I asked
I'm always ready to be black in America.
Well,
I'm always there.
One of the stories that caught my eye, I'm not sure, I think it was either on Yahoo's feed. It was a Yahoo feed that I saw a couple of days ago. And the headline just jumped out at me. It's okay to be white. Flyers papered over University Memorial commemorating desegregation.
There's nothing wrong with the slogan itself. I mean, Black Lives Matter. It's okay to be white. It's the way that they perpetrated this,
way you use
and
it?
their meaning behind it.
Okay.
I mean, pasting it over memorials.
Well, let's tell the folks
Go ahead.
which memorial they pasted it over.
Go ahead.
And then
You read it. I didn't.
Well, evidently, to pick up the story that was on Yahoo's feed, which I believe was a Reuters, well, at least they got a Reuters photo.
Release?
They got a Reuters photo anyway. Yeah. But Reuters aggregated it from the Daily Beast, which was November 5th, 2019. That was the headline. It's okay to be white. Flyers papered over University Memorial commemorating desegregation. And the president of East Tennessee State University condemned a series of "It's okay to be white" flyers that covered parts of the Johnson City campus early last Friday, which would be the Friday before last, including a memorial to the first black students to ever attend the university in the 1950s. So the particular spot that this campus decided they wanted to paper over with their flyers, "It's okay to be white," was a memorial that was actually commemorating the desegregation of that campus.
Right.
But it turns out in further reading, because I'd slept this movement, the "It's okay to be white" movement actually
I missed that
has been classified as a hate slogan by the Anti-Defamation League, since it was popularized in 2017 as part of a campaign by members of 4chan. Now, you remember 4chan? 4chan, I just saw a recent headline, got upgraded to 8chan after 4chan got bombarded.
They must
and
be
then
having babies.
8chan just changed its name to something like 8Ku or
16chan?
8Ku. Forgive me, folks. But even though I should keep up with these hate-mongering sites so I know what they are.
You
and
can't.
who they are.
You
Well,
can't
the
keep
bottom
up
line
with
is,
them.
I don't read their stuff because that's too much
I don't either.
negative poison to be putting in my system. But when other people quote what they're doing, then we try to report it. And so evidently 4chan started in 2017 to popularize "It's okay to be white," and the white supremacist people have been running with it ever since. So that's why it was noteworthy that that was the slogan that was pasted over the desegregation memorial. So that was one of the stories that jumped out at me about who we are in North American society, and why it seems like the clock keeps being turned back because of the guy in the White House.
True, but a bigger question that I have is: are universities becoming the breeding grounds for white supremacists? I mean, all it takes is a couple of people to infiltrate a university, and they start this momentum going. And sometimes the kids don't know what's going on, but they want to be part of the scene. So they just jump on the train.
That's a very good question. In that there are a number. You remember when Dinesh D'Souza was writing his books that was digging up Clinton conspiracies and all kinds of right-wing tropes and stuff. Right. He and a couple of other right-wing hate-mongers were being invited to college campuses in the name of free speech, etc. And because their hate speech was so offensive, people would be counter-demonstrating.
Right.
And so a whole freedom of expression and the right to free speech on college campuses became the big battleground for the last 2 or 3 years. It's actually still going on. because you and I, we being journalists, being press people, we have to deal with all those Bill of Rights amendments,
Right.
free speech, freedom of religion, the whole bit, that as journalists we have to cover. And the nature of the beast is hate speech, as intolerable as it is, flies under the banner of free speech, the freedom of speech.
Right.
But there's a certain caveat in that you can't cry fire in a crowded theater when there is no fire. And so there needs to be a parsing of what's tolerable about free speech when it clashes with hate speech.
Right.
And that's the discussion that hasn't been, as far as I can tell, been properly had, not just nationally, but on college campuses. And I think there's a need for the discussion because a lot of this hate mongering is being perpetrated all over the globe, not just the country, and they're hiding under the rubric and the banner of free speech, and you're interfering with free speech. So that's a debate and a discussion that needs to be had. So
Absolutely, but free speech. No, you can't yell fire in a crowded theater if there's no fire. So it seems that your speech is also contingent upon the actions that it promotes. So can't we sort of say, well, you can't use that in the context of free speech because this is the action you're promoting?
I think that's why the demonstrators were having counter-demonstrators when these crazy people were being invited on campus.
I think it's a legal issue that should be looked into, and I don't think anybody has. Until after the fact.
Well, legal or constitutional, really, because it's not. It becomes legal if somebody is banned and then they take you to court for banning their speech because you're violating their free speech right. But I don't want to try to debate it here because that's something that we'd have to really dig into and give all the different pros and all the cons. But it's a discussion that needs to be had. But it's just like the discussion on race and reparations that needs to be had in this country. Most people don't want to have. I think a lot of people are shying away from this hate speech, free speech discussion. That's basically what I think. But in any case, we can't solve it here.
No, we can't.
Now, in another but stories that we've covered are when police use excessive force against black and brown students or black and brown people, when they shoot them, kill them, when they're unarmed and stuff like that. And there have been stories about policemen in predominantly southern states. I've seen Carolina, Florida, and all that, who've been caught on video forcibly assaulting students in school. Well, guess what? Another story popped up in my inbox the other day. It says, Florida sheriff's deputy arrested after throwing girl to floor by her neck. This was another case, similar to the one in Carolina
I saw the
a year ago.
Yeah, I saw the video.
So now, what caught my eye was because it immediately, Florida scientist was arrested and charged with felony abuse, okay? I mean, this was an immediate charge. There was no hesitation. Now, the guy in the Carolinas, when they caught him on video, there was, we'll suspend them, we'll have an investigation, we'll do this and that. I'm looking at the photo, and guess what? The Florida cop is a black cop.
Yes, he is.
So I don't know what the race of the child was that he threw to the ground.
And it
could have been any race.
The guy was wrong.
No.
The video that I saw, there's no question.
I'm laughing because he got his just desserts and he got it instantly.
Right.
I am not.
But I mean, it was so obvious because there was a period of about 30 seconds before he reacted at all, and then he walked across the room and just grabbed her and threw her down to the floor.
Hey, look, the guy in South Carolina a year ago, I mean, it was physical. It was, he basically beat that child into the floor, okay? I'm not even want to try to compare
I wouldn't compare them.
The guy in Carolina, he had administrative leave, or we have to look into this, we have this and that.
I know. But
that cop was white.
Well,
kid,
you know,
the
there's
kid he threw down.
always a difference, regardless of whether it's conscious
Yes,
or
I know.
subconscious. There's always a difference.
So anyway, what I'm getting at, folk, is I love the fact that justice is swift, accountability is swift, but it only seems to be swift in certain cases.
Yes.
But
Life
but
is all right in
at least he got his
America.
just desserts. So
Yes.
So now, I think there was another interesting story that popped in. Did you look at any of the links that I sent
Yeah,
you?
yeah.
What's the third story that we were
Third
thinking
story,
of talking about?
hang on a second. The third story was, why did you get the gentleman who had acid thrown in his face? Simply because he had a brown face.
Let's call that story up and let's
I
talk
am
about it.
about to call that up.
Because the person, actually one of our good resource person,
Where
Pearl
is
Duncan,
this? Where
called
is
me when this first hit the news and said, Eric, I just can't believe what I heard. And basically she'd seen the first reports on this story that took place. I believe it was in
This
Wisconsin,
happened in
somewhere
Milwaukee.
Milwaukee, somewhere.
It was in
Yeah,
Milwaukee,
yeah.
yes. And where's the? Why can't I get the whole thing here?
So-
I've got a press conference. I want to find the.
Is that the press conference? That the man who
yeah,
got
and
assaulted?
that's the
Yeah,
gentleman.
yeah.
But
Well, while we're talking around it, I'll give you a summary, and Ray can quote from the actual event. But the
yeah,
bottom line
but-
was this guy, I believe he's Hispanic, who was brought here when he was younger. He's actually a United States citizen.
He is
went
a
to-
citizen, yeah.
He was going to either a restaurant or a movie theater, and as he pulled up the park near the establishment, this man walked up to him. This elderly white man walked up to him. And this is a brown Hispanic, and this
Gentleman in
elderly
his
white
60s.
man walked to him and said, "No, this is not. You're parking in the wrong place. Move your car." So the guy didn't want any confrontation. He drives his car a block away, not where he normally would park, but he didn't want any confrontation. And after he parked the car, this same man, must have followed him as he drove his car and walked up to him and said something to the effect of, "Why are you invading our country?" or whatever. If you can find the story,
I can't.
quote.
All I'm finding is this video.
Okay. Well,
Unfortunately.
so
at
he
the
tells
moment.
the guy, "You've come to our country, you invaded us and all that," and he throws acid
acid
in his face. So the man, of course, was totally shocked. Somebody reported it, whether this guy had the presence of mind to report it. The cops were looking for him when the story first broke. It looks like they have found him
They
and
have
since
found a
arrested
suspect,
him.
yes.
But
65-year-old
what-
man, I believe.
what
I can't find this.
What Pearl Duncan and I were discussing when she brought the story to my attention was the man went to that public space with the intent to do harm. Didn't matter who came up because he already had his acid with him. So that meant he intended to throw acid on whomever that he was going to assault.
Do you know that he had it with him?
He
I wish I
didn't
could
run
find this.
around the block. He had the acid with him and threw it in the man's face at the time of the confrontation.
Yes,
he didn't go
but
to a
this was
store
like
to buy
an
it.
hour later,
He didn't.
or whatever.
No,
You know.
he threw it at him. Right. Well, what
Not
does
when
the
they
last
first-
press conference say?
It's not here. They've moved on from this link.
Well, when the report that Pearl gave me was the man accosted him a block later, a block away when he moved the car,
Yes.
and then threw the acid in his face.
I thought some time had passed, and he found the man waiting there at his vehicle when he came back. Yeah, I wish I could find this as well, but it's just not here.
So let's look at it both ways. Let's say he didn't have the acid with him.
Okay. I mean, it does. I
Let's
don't
say
really
he
care.
didn't
He
have
did
it with him.
Right.
The fact that he was there to accost the man with acid when the man returned to his car
agree.
meant he intended to do harm.
Absolutely.
One way or the other.
Absolutely. I'm just
So what I'm saying
saying that maybe
to
he
you
didn't
is
go out on the
either
prowl
he
looking for
came
somebody.
prepared
To do it, or
he-
decided, well, I'm going to get even with this guy, and let me go
get even with him
yeah.
for doing what? Man didn't
For being
even park the car.
for being brown.
For being brown
yeah,
and
right.
coming
and
to this
invading the country and stealing his
okay.
job, which he
Okay.
probably didn't have in the first place.
Okay.
Oh
All right.
my goodness, I wish I could
So-
find that.
So there we go with the fact that, hey, if somebody doesn't like the way you look, let me see.
Well, it's the way it was 150 years ago.
Yeah.
And we're going back to that, obviously.
That's the way it was 50 years ago. Not,
depending upon where you were, yeah.
The man asked, "Why did you come here and invade my country?"
Yeah.
Then he threw battery acid. Milwaukee police arrested a man suspected of throwing battery acid on a Hispanic man who says his attacker asked him, "Why did you come here and invade my country?" This is just the most crazy. This country has lost its mind.
It's lost its mind and several other things as well. What's this man? Okay, here's a Mahoud Villalaaz.
So, all right. Now,
but that was it's just outrageous.
We're doing sort of aggregations of stuff. There's a story that caught my eye. Has absolutely nothing but being black or brown in America, because the guy from Chile or wherever he'd immigrated was a brown-skinned Hispanic, who the man in Milwaukee threw the battery acid on. There was also what I call the Great Wall Boondoggle. I don't know if you folks, I don't know whether you heard this, seen this or not, but here's the deal. Wait.
Trump's
where,
continual assurance that the wall is being built. Yeah. Where meanwhile all they're doing is repairing fences and putting in bollards, which do absolutely nothing.
If you could find a story where somebody in some particular position of power said, "We're going to allocate $300 million, folk." And you know why they're going to allocate $300 million?
No, why?
Because the, quote, new wall that was just constructed, all right, a couple of bolt cutters and a couple of clippers, that wall was breached, okay? This new wall. It goes, zoom, zoom, boom. The impregnable wall.
That's the point. There is no new wall, though.
Well, the newly refurbished impregnable wall.
The repaired fences, right.
The bottom line was the bolt clippers took care of that. And so, guess what?
The smugglers are always going to find a way.
Quality control contracts. Are you listening to what I'm saying to you, folk? Your tax dollars are now going to go to the tune of $300 million for a quality control corporation to monitor the people that have already got the boondoggle millions for building the wall to make sure that they are being built so they can't be breached, which we already know is an impossibility. But now an additional $300 million of your tax dollars will be spent on quality control to make sure that the other billions of dollars that are spent building the wall are being spent with quality product.
I was getting tired of my dollars paying for Trump's vacation, so I'm glad they're going somewhere else, you know.
So that was the true boondoggle taxpayer waste of money that really caught my eye, and I thought I would share that with you. So now you've got a great story that you need to tell our viewers about that deals with, again, we'll call it Media Watch. Somebody actually at the Washington Post has come up with a great idea, great vehicle for watching the media in its new iteration and new form. Tell our folks about that.
Yes, boy, I don't know much about it. I just saw it, and that's why I emailed it to you. Okay. There's not much to tell about it except that they're showing examples of how video and audio were manipulated.
Okay, if we could call it up, we could actually give them the categories of the laws.
I'm going to try and do that. I sent it to you in the email. I don't know that I sent it from this computer, though.
The Washington Post had done. They decided to look into the way fake news and video, not just lying stories, but actual videos were being used in today's media environment. And so they've launched a new initiative at the Washington Post where they've broken down the videos into something like 5 categories of how they're being manipulated. And I'm talking off the top of my head. Hopefully Ray will come up with it. But the bottom line is they are giving you the examples, and they're using current today and recent examples of how videos have been manipulated, cut out of context. Actually, artificial intelligence have been used to actually physically change the video so that you can't even tell it's that good. But the categories are.
Well, the title of it is Seeing Isn't Believing, The Fact Checker's Guide to Manipulated Video. This is courtesy of the Washington Post. They have a fact-checking program that is continuous, and they've just come up.
This is not just the text.
This is not
statement.
exactly.
This is
the
video
as well.
Of their fact checking.
Covering, missing context, misrepresentation and isolation, deceptive editing.
These are the headings, folks. Let's not rush through them. Let's go through them nice.
Okay, deceptive editing. Or do you want to?
Yeah, give them a little quick definition.
Well, deceptive editing is the omission or taking something out of context. You'll use the exact words that the person said, but you'll take it out of context to mean something else. It may follow something that promotes your idea,
right?
But has nothing actually to do with it. Can you think of an example? I'm at a loss right now.
They had used, one was an Ilhan Omar speech that she'd given where she talked about why you have to be afraid of white men.
Right.
But that was just a slip because she was quoting an anti-defamation study that giving you how many people had been killed by jihadists, and it was like some minuscule number in this country, and then the number of people killed by white supremacist white males was in the hundreds. And she said that makes you have to worry a little bit more about white males. So in the context of the total thing, it
made sense.
But they didn't quite. They just gave you have to worry about white men. So that was deceptive editing. That's one example.
Yeah, and we were talking about misrepresentation, missing context. I'm looking at a video here of people handing online. I don't know what the event is. I don't know where they're handing out dollars.
The Trump people said it was shot in.
That it was Soros's people handing out money for people to cross the border.
Yeah, and some caravan.
And actually, the video was from somewhere else, some other time, unidentified.
Honduras, it might have been Guatemala.
Right,
they don't know who's handing out the money, and they don't know why they're handing it out.
Exactly, had nothing to do with what was reported by the Trump camp.
What was pushed as Soros people handing out.
So that's one way, and then we already talked about
just mislabeling, misrepresentation,
deceptive editing.
Yeah.
Which was you just gave the example of that. And then splicing, they'll take a statement from somebody and then take a totally unrelated.
Their example is a phenomenal example.
This is
they talk about Ocasio-Cortez giving an interview with somebody somewhere in context of something.
Another news
These other folk took her answers to that interview, had their particular anchor, push silly questions, and then they cobbled the answer to the other interview, and they put it together like she had sat down in an interview for them. That's total deceptive editing. When they got caught, they said, "Oh, it was satire." That was their excuse. It was satire. Okay. So the nature of the beast is, I love the fact that the Post is going to do this for video. Like, fact checkers have been fact checking people's statements ever since Donald Trump got up and started. Right? They were checking it before Trump, but because Trump was so exorbitant, they had to put fact checkers on speed dial at all times because it was just a total game changer.
Not surprising.
People just lied, so they had to have fact checkers. But it was always for statements, not for falsified videos. So anyway, how much time we got?
We've got 3 minutes and 20 seconds. But you're talking about falsified video. Here's something I think everybody has seen. When Jim Acosta was accused of using force against the White House aide who was trying to take...
Jim Acosta is the CNN reporter that was the White House, assigned to the White House.
Exactly. And what they did with the video, manipulating it, they didn't change anything. They just... In this case, I think they sped it up. They slowed it down, or they sped it up to make it look like
he was hitting her and doing all kinds. When basically he was just saying, "Excuse me, don't messing with my mic."
She's reaching for that, and he's just going like this.
Excuse me, no, that's my mic. I need. But it was altered video.
It was altered
It
video.
was shot where it was shot, but then they altered it to try to make him look bad and try to make it some kind of an assault. So,
no, we're not accusing the news media of doing this.
but we're not talking
necessarily.
about mainstream
Although I have
or
some
other,
problems with what's
other
going on
folks.
in
I
the
mean,
news
but
media
there
right
there
now.
are instances, as the Washington Post did when they released this new initiative. They gave specific examples of videos that were online in social media, videos that were altered by different organizations, like that video outfit that spliced Ocasio-Cortez's
Right.
stuff, and so what they're saying, folks, is beware. Whatever video you see, don't necessarily, if it's not a reputable news organization telling you our reporter just filed this from so and so and such, which you can pretty much believe is going to be straight as was shot and edited over supervision. I'm just saying, for the most part.
For the most part. For the most part. 99% of the time, I would say.
But
yes.
that Acosta video, that wasn't a news organization. That was
No.
some Trump PAC or some Trump whatever.
But you can't tell anymore. It's
Yeah,
difficult to tell
but you
when
have
you
to
just
find
see it
out what's the
isolated
source.
in a
You
post.
gotta
And you
ask
do,
what's
but
the
how many
source.
people do that?
Well, what I
People
was,
who are concerned, who have a genuine interest in this, do take that extra step. People who just react and just, oh my God, look at this. Oh boy, I can't
Okay.
believe that. Let's get
I
somebody.
think you're right. What do we got? 10
1
seconds?
minute. 1 minute to go.
1 minute. Okay.
And I'm getting hungry.
I
So.
can't talk to your stomach, but I can talk to the fact that we deliberately shied away from any of the election stuff just because the governor in Kentucky didn't concede
Right.
yet, right? No,
well,
Governor
he
of Virginia.
hadn't.
Governor of Virginia.
Yeah, exactly. The last I heard, no, but that was last night. I don't know what happened this
Let me
morning.
stop confusing our viewers because the Virginia governor wasn't up. He's still in office. That's a Democrat. But
Right.
they won both houses in Virginia. The Kentucky guy is the guy who didn't want to concede. It was Mitch McConnell's state where the governor didn't want to concede. The
Right.
Republican incumbent did not want
Right.
to concede that he had lost to this Democrat. And so, who knows?
We've got
More to come
5.
So, this has been Media Watch. I'm Eric Tait.
I'm Raymond Peterson.
Catch us on YouTube, EBTED, and we'll catch you the next time.